the pandemic showed us is that we really shouldn't be dependent on other countries.
It has gotten harder and harder.
The cost of living is extremely high and the minimum wage is completely low.
Affordable living basically means trying to survive.
For decades, the Bahamas has been known as paradise. But what happens when paradise becomes too expensive for its own people? Living in the Bahamas is generally expensive, with costs often 20% through 80% higher than in most US cities. The cost of living in the Bahamas is 1.1 times higher than in United States. A study from the University of the Bahamas reveals shocking statistics about the cost of living for middle-class families in the Bahamas. The study indicates that a family of 4 in New Providence should earn an estimated $122,400 per year to afford a middle-class life in New Providence and $121,000 in Grand Bahama. It further notes that these figures do not account for life insurance, private health insurance, national insurance taxes, debt union dues, or new vehicle purchases.
Well, I'm a mother of 4, a grandmother of 5, a hard worker, believer in Christ, and also believe in helping others.
So I'm a mother of 2 young children, currently married, and of course living in the Bahamas. I work in a very demanding, my career is very demanding, and so I've basically been looking at ways to balance work and life, the stresses of that, while also dealing with the increases in our cost of living and overall how we manage.
Living comfortably means to me, in terms of like making enough, whereas I can be able to pay the bills, still travel, still give my family a vacation, time after time, and also, not worry so much about the bills, the bill collectors and stuff like that.
So in the past, for me, affordable living used to mean paying my bills, saving a little bit of money, and maybe having time to travel here and there. But now, for us, affordable living basically means trying to survive. Cost of living has gone up. We're trying our hardest as a double income family, a dual income family, to basically meet all of our expenses and still try to enjoy life, but it has gotten harder and harder.
The grocery store used to be routine. Now, it feels like strategy. Every aisle is a calculation, every price tag is a decision. What stays in the cart? What goes back on the shelf? The total at checkout is no longer just a number. It's a reminder. A reminder that even the basics, rice, milk, egg, bread, are no longer basic. And for many families, the hardest part isn't paying the bill. It's explaining why certain things can't come home anymore.
Well, for instance, turkey was 49 cents per pound. Now turkey is almost $5 per pound. And I love turkey, but sometimes like when you go in the food store, you want it, but you can't even purchase it because it's so expensive and they give you so little bit, because basically it used to be 49 cents per pound. And now it's like $4.99, almost $5 per pound. I mean, that's ridiculous. Even in terms with chicken used to be 69 cents. I guess that's the only cheaper thing right now. When it comes to red meat, certain red meats like lamb chop is like $30 like for 6 pieces, and that's very high. Those things that I could purchase one time ago, now I can't because I literally have to like watch my spending. Oh, don't even talk about the eggs. Well, I used to have to get eggs when they are on special. For now, like $1.99 right now, they running a special. So eggs came very, very expensive throughout the years. First of all, I feel like they can actually raise minimum wage because in this kind of time, there's no way you can pay adults, grown adults that have family to take care, have rent to pay $260. Plus the height of trying to get a home is very expensive. Land is very expensive. They want to give want you to pay VAT on everything. I don't have no problem paying tax. I don't have no problem paying VAT. But at the end of the year, give give us something back.
Rent is rising faster than wages, and for many families, home is no longer just comfort, it is pressure.
Rent has gone up exponentially. What you could get for a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment, you're now paying almost for the cost of an entire house. So, and then in terms of the quality of the living, the residence that you're paying for, the amenities, are the landlords keeping up with it, that has seen a decline while everything else has kind of increased.
In the Bahamas, the minimum wage currently stands at $6.50 per hour, equivalent to $260 per week, or just over $1,100 per month. This reflects an increase from previous years. In 2019, the minimum wage rose by 40%, moving from $150 to $210 per week. The first major adjustment since the policy was introduced in 2002. Despite these increases, discussions around income and affordability continue. Over the past decade, economic pressures, including rising taxes, such as value-added tax, have affected household purchasing power. At the same time, the cost of living has steadily increased. According to the Department of Statistics, Bahamians are paying more for basic goods and services than they have over the past 4 years. Housing costs remain a significant factor. The average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is estimated at approximately $1,161 per month, while larger family units can reach up to $3,000 per month in Nassau. These figures highlight the broader economic landscape where wages, expenses, and living conditions intersect, shaping the daily realities of individuals and families across the country.
I honestly don't know how they're able to survive. I'm rather impressed by the families who are able to. Speaking for my own family, we're dual income and it's hard. So I can't imagine the pressure that they're going through. It's insane to think that parents have to deal with the increase in costs, the increase in food, education, and this can negatively impact our kids. In the long run, it affects their grades. We don't know if they're able to have comfortable environments to complete their homework and things like that. So something has to give when it comes to affordability. We can't continuously see prices increasing and expect families to continue a future for the Bahamas.
Well, all through the years, being a single mom, raising 4 kids on my own, it was very, very, very difficult because there were times when I couldn't find food for them. There were times, whew.
Take your time.
Sorry.
Yes.
There were times when I even couldn't meet my rent. There were times when I was unemployed for 7 months, didn't know where I was going to meet my incomes. There were times when I got eviction notice to move. And I guess because my faith that grounded me to continue to hold on to God, that's why I was able to stand. There were many nights I couldn't even find food for me, but it kept me going. In spite of what I was going through, I never made my problems nobody else's problem. There were times that I reached out to the social service. At one point, they did help me. They did assisted me, but it only lasted for so long. After a while, I was able to got an employment at Cartwright, and even with the salary there, I was only making like $200. Still had to provide for 4 kids. Still had to provide to paying rent. Still had to provide bus fares, finding lunch. So it was really difficult. It was really hard. Being a single mom, raising 4 kids on your own, just having one income salary. So it was very difficult. And I can truly say now I'm in a much better place because the kids are all grown. So they are working. So I get a little bit of assistance. And even it's still hard now for a lot of single moms out there because the cost of living is extremely high and the minimum wage is completely low. I think the minimum wage should not be $260. I remember at one point, two of my kids were sitting down when I got my eviction notice and they cry and I had to pull myself away from them. And I said, God, I said, I would prefer to live in a car than to go live any place else. So it was it was hard back then because I even at one point I was ducking the landlord because like she wanted money but I didn't have it, and then I had to pay late fee. So struggling to find $550 at that time, not paying it on time, and then you still had to pay $10 late fee for every day that you were late. So technically I had to find like $675 back then because she wanted money. So every day that I was late, I had to pay a $10 fee. So yes, I had worry many, many nights, many days.
Bahamians have found ways to adapt, to survive in this expensive paradise. For some, that means turning to tradition. Along busy markets and roadside stands, straw vendors sell homemade goods, keeping culture alive while earning a living. These practices help families put food on the table when store prices become too high. During the COVID-19 pandemic, this reality became even more visible as jobs were lost and the economy slowed. More people turned to small scale hustles, agriculture, and informal work to support themselves and their families. Because in the Bahamas, survival is not just about living, it's about adapting, enduring, and finding ways to thrive in an expensive paradise.
So I got into gardening in the height of COVID, as I'm sure a lot of Bahamians did, because there was this fear in us as to we saw a decline in foods that were coming into the country. the uncertainty was there. So a lot of persons started gardening, and I was one of them. I mean, I was always passionate about gardening even before COVID. But during COVID is when you found the time. You didn't have the pressures and demands of your job. So you had time to go out in the garden, grow herbs and vegetables. And that did make a slight difference. But in terms of fully sustaining your family to where you depend solely on the garden to feed you, that's kind of impossible here in the Bahamas. Not only are the cost of materials high, in order to bring in the proper material, the duty prices are high, import fees are high, VAT is high. So it's almost impossible for you to fully sustain your family. Now, if there were more things like community gardens where residents came together as a community and had one plot where everyone farms, maybe then it could be a bit better. But it's hard on the individual.
If prices continue climbing, how much longer can Bahamians endure?
My name is Philip Davis Jr., director of BAIC, also a swim instructor. Getting into farming is something that everybody should be involved in. You need nutrition, you need to upkeep your body. I also had a mother that used to cater to functions and staff meetings. So she used to complain about the prices of tomatoes and stuff like that. So that's my introduction into farming. I started to grow most of the things that she was complaining about, and I found that it was very, very easy to do.
In a country surrounded by beauty, every day Bahamians struggle quietly. With grocery prices soaring, some are forced to turn to the soil, farming just to put food on the table. It's a life of hard work, not by choice, but by necessity. This is what survival looks like in a paradise that has become too expensive to call home for many.
What we're looking at when we're concerning about pricing, it's something called scarcity, supply and demand. If we have to import something, then that obviously means that that country has to be in a position where they have a surplus. Obviously, the Bahamas, we are not in a position of surplus other than fisheries and stuff like that. You don't have the disposable income like way back in the day where you could just spread across. And now that we find that organic stuff or the better stuff inside the food store costs way more.
Something as simple as putting healthy food on the table has become a challenge. Store shelves are full, but what we're buying often comes at a hidden cost. Less nutrition, more strain, and a growing disconnect from what truly sustains us.
My experience during COVID, obviously, you had to wait in the long lines inside the food store if you had that time to go and wait in there. Fishermen, other tradesmen, they weren't able to have a market to sell. So their products were going down. This is where the barter system became alive and well again. When certain people found out that I had vegetables and they had something else within trade, we weren't in the food stores. We were with each other and we were going around to other people. It was better than money, way better than money. So if we have a system whereas each one has a piece. So if you're growing kale, I have tomatoes, somebody else has arugula, and then we all collaborate and come together, we should have enough food to supply everybody. A farmer's market is supposed to be farmers collaborating with each other, and then we go to the public, not farmers coming there competing against each other trying to sell to the public. All right? We need to have that collaboration where we make it way more affordable and accessible to the general public.
The Bahamas is still paradise, but for those who live here, paradise comes with a price. The cost of living is not just numbers on a receipt. It is sacrifice. It is stress. It is resilience. Yet even in the pressure, Bahamians endure. They stretch meals. They grow what they can. They adapt. They persevere. The question is not whether we are strong enough to survive. The question is, how long should survival be enough? What would it mean to move from surviving to truly living? In a country so rich in beauty, culture, and potential, affordability should not feel like a luxury. Because paradise should belong not just to those who visit, but those who call it home.